Absolutely. So welcome so much, everyone. We're thrilled to have you here. Before I turn it over to our incredible speaker for the day, just a few quick announcements. So firstly, while we're getting started, if everybody can post in the chat their names and where they are joining us from. It's always so wonderful to see so many countries around the world joining us for these professional development sessions. Just a bit of housekeeping for today's session. We would appreciate it if everybody can keep their mics turned off throughout the session, just so that we can give Patricia our full attention. And also, we will be having a Q&A session at the end of the professional development session. So please do feel free throughout the call to put any questions that you have within the chat. We'll keep monitoring them, and then Patricia can address them at the end of the session. Just some exciting upcoming information. So for all of our advocates and alumni, we have two back-to-back professional development sessions this month. So we have Patricia's incredible session today on how to promote buy-in from your school leadership or your colleagues within your school. And next week, we actually have a panel presentation featuring the work of some of our incredible advocates. And that topic will be how to incorporate education for sustainable development into arts-based subjects. So things like visual arts, drama, music, all of that fun stuff. So that will be a panel next Saturday, which is November 16th, and that will take place at 1 p.m. UTC. We also have our current cohort of, we currently have applications for our next cohort of Global Schools Advocates open. So if you are not a Global Schools Advocate or alumni, we strongly encourage you to apply for the program. Applications do close on November 24th, and we will be having an information session next Sunday, November 17th, also at 1 p.m. UTC. And this will be an incredible opportunity for you to learn more about the Global Schools Advocates Program and ask any questions that you may have. Perfect. I am thrilled to turn it over to my incredible colleague on the education team, Patricia. Patricia is a great believer in collaborating and sharing knowledge in order to improve interpersonal and intercultural relations as a means to create a more peaceful, tolerant, and informed global society. She's had the best of both Northern and Southern European influence in her upbringing, broadening her cultural perspective from the start. She's been working in education for more than 25 years, having held a range of roles, including various leadership positions in schools and in other academic institutions, as well as running her own business for 10 years. Patricia completed our Global Schools Advocate program in the 2001 cohort, and then became a mentor in 2022 and 2023 and a senior mentor last year. She's now serving as Project Officer Alumni Relations on the Global Schools team. Patricia's background is an IB Diploma Coordinator and an IB CAS Coordinator, as well as being active in global networks such as the Global Teachers Club, further enhances her understanding of the importance of global thinking and service learning. Professionally, she is currently working at the British School of Gran Canaria, teaching the Spanish language and literature, as well as being the current well-being lead and coordinating an extracurricular club focusing on environmental, developmental, and fundraising projects. Patricia, we are thrilled to have you with us today. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Kendra. Amazing. When you hear your bio read out by someone else, it's like, oh, really? We've done quite a lot. Right, so welcome to everyone who's here. I'm going to see if I can share my screen in a second here. 1 second. So that we can jump in. Okay, I hope you can see that. I can't see you now, so Kendra, if you can just give me the go-ahead that this is okay.
Yeah, we can see it, Patricia.
Perfect. Right, so I'm going to jump right in because we don't want to take too much time. So let me just say that, basically I've been a teacher in teacher training for a long time, and I've been part of the Global Schools program for some time as well now. So when I was working as an IB CAS coordinator and IB coordinator, I had the best of the worlds when it comes to integrating education for sustainable development, because obviously the IB fosters this type of integration. However, I then changed schools and I've been working with quite a lot of challenges. So apart from the challenges that I've been helping other people with in my surrounding and in my community and all over the globe, I've also got the personal sort of experience in how to overcome these challenges when schools don't share your enthusiasm. So what are we doing here? We're going to discuss the overcoming of resistance to education for sustainable development in schools, okay? I hope that you're going to come away with some practical strategies so that you can implement them wherever you are in the world as well. So first of all, we need to know what the situation is, yeah? So we're going to start off by just thinking, what is my situation wherever I am? Oops, sorry. I've got a new computer, so you have to bear with me a bit here, okay? I don't know what happened here. 2 seconds. There we go. Okay. So in the advocate handbook, for those of you who are advocates, we have some steps that say, obviously, that you should share your role with the senior management team. You should invite teachers to a workshop, choose an education for sustainable development related activity to carry out in your school. Then the step 7, evaluate and celebrate. Okay. Obviously, if your school has endorsed your advocacy, that is what they should be hoping that you would do, and they should be behind you with this. Yeah. So your school has endorsed your advocacy, but they might come up with things like, okay, all is good. Yeah, it's very interesting, but I'm not going to give you more time for this. I'm sure you can relate to these questions. We support you, but we can't change the way things are. We don't want you to put ideas into people's heads. It can't take up the teaching time, okay? So it's important, but of course, we have all these other pressing issues that we have to do first of all. We're behind you 100%, but parents want content teaching. As long as it doesn't interfere with exam preparations. I'm pretty sure that more than one of you have heard these if you are in the situation where you have challenges in your school, okay? So the school is happy to endorse you, but it depends a bit on when, where, and how. Also, when you get to step 5 of inviting teachers to a workshop, okay, your teachers, your fellow colleagues, they might say, okay, yeah, it sounds brilliant, it sounds good, yeah, but I don't have time for this, okay? So when do I teach? When do I get to teach my stuff? I teach maths, so this has nothing to do with me at all, okay? More things? Seriously? You're going to put more things on my schedule? I'm already behind schedule. I should be marking instead of listening to this. And you've got people rolling their eyes, yeah? It's up to the government to sort out climate change, nothing to do with me. Or we're not going to make a difference on a world scale. And a lot of people would say, oh, just another fashion, like everything else, yeah? So I'm pretty sure that more than one of you has come across colleagues that are either in one of these scenarios or a similar one. So we need to see what we're going to do with this, yeah? Because the situation is clear. We have a situation where people aren't entirely as enthusiastic as you are. It's as if, you've seen the light, you see it, it's all perfectly clear, it's all logical. ESD is the way forward, there's no other way around it. And then not a lot of people maybe endorse you on that. So the ideal scenario would be that you do step 6 and 8, you choose your ESD related activity to carry out in your school, and you celebrate it, and the kids are really excited and motivated. So the parents start praising your work, people get curious and want to know, and the senior management team see a really good marketing potential, and you get to spearhead the change. Yeah, that would be the ideal scenario. And for many people, that is what happens when they start on their advocacy journey. Oops, sorry about however, hello. Then we have the not so ideal scenario. This is the one I'm going to be dealing with today. And since a lot of you are already advocates or alumni or very committed to education for sustainable development, we are going to head right into this scenario. the approach. We are all fairly well versed when it comes to integrating ESD. And we're quite well versed as well in the training that we've received. So we know that when there's a problem, we have to take an approach towards that problem. So how does a global schools program advocate, for example, approach a problem? Well, we're going to do a similar thing with this problem. So one way is to use, some of you are already familiar with the solutionary framework. There's lots of different frameworks, but I've chosen this one to just take it as a framework right now, okay? So what does an advocate do? They hunt for solutions. So when we are in our community or in our school and we have a problem that has to do with sustainability, we're going to hunt for a solution. So when we have a situation where we have another type of problem, the school is not really enthusiastic, your colleagues aren't enthusiastic, let's see how this works for that situation, for that scenario as well. Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar with this, it comes from the Institute for Humane Education, and it's a four-phase process. So you identify, investigate, innovate, and implement a situation. Now, let's see how this can. Okay, I'm really sorry about this. This is what happens when you have new technology. There you go. First of all, we need to identify the problem itself, yeah? So when we say, and then we're going to investigate it. And when we're going to understand the resistance. So when we understand the problem, we have to focus on the problem. So first of all, what is the resistance? Why is education for sustainable development not a priority in your school, especially when you think that it should be there? Is there a perception perhaps that it takes time away from exams? Are there concerns about the lack of resources or knowledge? How does your school view the role of education in global citizenship? So first of all, understand, where does this resistance come from? Yeah, that is really important so that you can do something about it. In the same way that we're going to understand why there is a situation that's arising, maybe with sustainability in our environment as well. So first of all, if we're going to investigate, yeah, in the investigate section, we're going to have a look at what the understanding is by analyzing what's going on. So who are the stakeholders? What are they concerned about? Who are the stakeholders in your school in this case, yeah? What are their concerns? We need to really understand this, first of all, before we can even go about doing anything with education for sustainable development, yeah? What would the impact of education for sustainable development be in your school? And what impact of not doing it? Has it been done before, perhaps, you know? When they did it, maybe you have to investigate what was done and what was the experience. Because at times, the experience might not have been very positive, and that's why they are resistant to it. Yeah? So we need to deepen understanding, use systems thinking to investigate the impacts and causes, and research what's been done so far. Changing the narrative is a really good way of doing this, okay? So instead of just saying, okay, I want to do education for sustainable development, yeah, try and focus on how this will impact your school, yeah. Education for sustainable development is not just focusing on climate change, environmental issues, on the global goals. It has a lot of critical thinking and skills that are needed for exams. It also needs a lot of problem solving. So that's essentially in all subjects like math, science, social science, studies, whatever. Any subject needs problem solving. And also we have a real world application. So it makes the learning relevant and engaging. Yeah. So if we change the narrative being, okay, I want to focus on this and I want to integrate education for sustainable development, and we change the narrative a little bit and we focus on the skills that they will get by doing this, then we might have a better idea. Okay. Another thing that we need to do in the investigation phase is to analyze the curriculum. Yeah, we have to analyze the curriculum, schemes of work, and yearly plannings. We know that already. Okay, and find places where education for sustainable development can be integrated. Okay, so that's another one. Yeah, if we already have an existing curriculum, we know that the integration has to do with putting this focus into the curriculum. However, our colleagues and the senior management team, they might need this to be spelled out to them. Okay, so check where you could link this. Yeah, where could you link education for sustainable development to current topics? How can these global issues connect to the subject matter? Use case studies. For example, on our website, there's the case study guides. They're brilliant to enhance lessons with real world examples. You can see if anything, overlaps with your lesson at hand. Yeah, focus on the skills: critical thinking, collaboration, communication. I think one of the biggest keys here is to change the narrative. Yeah, then once we've done the investigation phase, yeah, so first of all we have to know that there is a problem. What is the problem? What is the resistance? Investigate who are the people involved and what can be done with all this, and then we need to take some action. So we have to find some leverage points where you can take action and brainstorm possible solutions. Yeah, so I would like to welcome you into not focusing so much on huge things if you're in a situation where the school is resistant to integrating education with sustainable development, and instead do micro actions. Yeah? Very, very small micro actions that can be in your classroom, in the common areas, in clubs, or in the yearly planning. Okay, with this framework, we also have the most good, least harm philosophy that can help us as well, which is what would be the best way of integrating it without stepping on too many people's toes. So the least harm, most good works here as well. Yeah. And then maybe instead of having something be permanent, come up with trial periods, pilot programs. They always work quite well for this type of situations. Okay. Small wins. Okay. Small wins in your context are really a key issue as well. How can you integrate the education for sustainable development, ESD, without completely changing your lessons? Okay, which topics in your subject could link to global issues? How could you bring in a simple real world example into your next lesson without changing anything in your lesson plan? Can you actually incorporate any related questions or discussions into assessments of class activities? Now, to give you an example for this, yeah, for example, let's say that you're focusing on exam preparation and you're discussing argumentative writing, for example, let's say. Well, you can throw out a question that they can sort of warm up with that has to do with sustainability or the global goals, or maybe that has to do with why it isn't incorporated into your school, into your context. So you can use questions, even if you don't change anything in your plan. You can use reflection, you can use questions, you can use discussions, and use them as warm-ups, or maybe exit tickets, or maybe you can even get them to connect things to that whatever you're focusing on, you can connect it maybe to a global goal. Now, obviously, this doesn't really help us with the management, but it does help you start integrating. Another thing that we have to do when we're innovating is we have to identify the major concerns, okay, in our colleagues and in our senior management teams. Yeah. So one major concern, I think all of you are going to be nodding to this one, is time. So we need to brainstorm solutions that are feasible to implement when it comes to time, because time is an issue both for management and for your colleagues. So it's a major concern. So you have to think about, is there any way that this can be integrated without extra time? As we just said, instead of dedicating a whole lesson to sustainability, maybe you can weave it in, yeah, in different ways. Discussing renewable energy, maybe in a science class, or global inequality. Okay, so see how you can weave it in without having to put any new time constraints on to your colleagues or whatever. So when you're presenting your workshop to your colleagues, or your workshop to the senior management team, it's very important that we address time, because time is money for management, and time is very important for your colleagues and for yourself as well. As teachers, most of us are teachers, time is something that we don't have a lot of. So anything that can seem to be taking away time from what we have to do is going to be a major concern and a threat. And if we get a threat thrown at us, we're going to go into defense mode. So we need to keep the defense mode a bit calm. And one way of doing that is to ensure people that they really do not have to deal with any extra time. They can just throw in a question. Okay. If anybody is working in an IB situation, the theory of knowledge questions, for example, that you have to integrate into the different groups of subjects, this would be a similar scenario where you integrate a question on ESD rather than maybe focusing the whole class on it. Another major concern, and we know this, and this is one of the big concerns as well, is leadership. Yeah, leadership can be the be all and end all, but it can also be what makes you completely lose faith in the integration of EST in your school. Okay, so we need to choose solutions that address the concerns that leadership have. Yeah? So here we go again. Oh dear. Excuse me. So apart from time and leadership and everything, technology is another thing that we need to deal with sometimes. Here we go. Getting there. There we go. Okay. So we need to get the support from leadership. But if leadership is not really wanting to incorporate it as a big priority, perhaps you can present this as a tool to enhance the student engagement and performance. And they're very, very connected to this area because, of course, if students are happy, families are happy. If families are happy, word of mouth. So they're going to give good publicity. Okay. Also, take the school's vision and mission. Have a look at them and see how education for sustainable development can align with the mission and with the vision. It's really important that you do this because obviously if the school is publicizing a vision and a mission, they also want to adhere to that, and that's what they are selling to the public. So whether it's a public state school or whether it's a private school, you need to try and get in that way sometimes if you don't have the full support. So having a look at the vision and identifying, for example, values that you can work with education for sustainable development, that is a good way in. So if you can show management and leadership that, okay, yeah, fine, you don't want to be radical maybe in this and go full the full way in, and we don't have it as a priority, but here's a way that you can actually align your school vision. Here's a way that you can actually enhance school student engagement and performance. That's interesting. That's something good. You want that. You want good results. Okay. You can also share success stories from other schools that have integrated ESD without a negative impact. Yeah. Because most schools that actually integrate ESD, they find that the result is actually the other way around. It's very positive. The results are extremely positive and the engagement is extremely positive as well. So, sharing these success stories, and even maybe, if you're part of the community, of the global schools community, you even get maybe one of your colleagues from global schools to come in and give a webinar to your senior management team or to your colleagues about how it's working in their situation and context where they are integrating things. That could also be a change maker. Yeah, but really it has to do with changing the narrative for people who are resistant in this case. Yeah. We also have to identify allies. Even if you think you're completely alone, maybe in this school where nobody wants to focus on on sustainability and you're burning to get this in there, okay? We can identify some allies. So when you identify the allies, okay, seek out colleagues who might be interested. Maybe the geography teacher, maybe the biology teacher. Maybe you could just have a chat with your colleagues, over lunch or whatever, and just throw in, something about sustainability and sustainable teaching materials to see, if they're engaged as well. Okay. Once you find your allies, it's a really good way to share resources. Maybe you've got something. We've got a wide range of lesson plans. Hello? Okay, so we have a wide range of lesson plans. I think somebody needs to turn off the microphone. Right, are we good? Okay, so yeah, fine. Once you have your allies, share resources, build a library of sustainable teaching materials that you can just pop into your colleagues' pigeonholes, perhaps. Oh, I found this little, activity that you could do, you know, when you're doing work on, I don't know, rivers, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Collaborative projects are really good as well, you know, working together. Now, how does this affect your senior management? It affects them because if they see that things are being done in classes and the students are beginning to be motivated in it, it's going to have a positive impact. So, you know, try and find allies, but we're doing micro work right now. Okay. So even if the school isn't on board, yeah, it can really build your momentum as well by working with like-minded colleagues, because you don't feel as despairing, and you'll find that, you know, you're not alone in this, that some people actually are on board. Student engagement, this is another one. I don't know about you, but with quite often one of the big points is the students get more engaged, and usually that is true as well. Integrating education for sustainable development definitely increases student engagement, okay? And that ultimately benefits everything else, yeah? The exam performance, anything they do, their critical thinking, their skills, okay? They tend to be quite interested in different topics that have to do with reality. However, this is not always the case. Right now in my school, student engagement, we've got some that are extremely engaged, and they're usually part of the extracurricular club where we deal with these things. And then you have quite a few who really don't care. And this is a problem. So how can we deal with that? Because quite often we focus on trying to get management on board, we focus on trying to get colleagues on board. But what happens if you can't even do it in your classroom? In your classroom, your students, you end up having maybe 75% of your classroom having fixed or extreme mindsets. The best thing is to avoid direct confrontation. Yeah. It's much better to respectfully challenge students' views without labeling them as wrong or outdated, even though we're dying to do that, because of course we've seen the light. We know how important this is. The planet needs us. But these students, they've grown up in a completely different setting and a different environment, and they don't see things in the same way. So try to avoid that direct confrontation. And this goes for management as well, actually, and for your colleagues. Instead, try to sort of challenge the views. Yeah, you can challenge the students' views without telling them that they're wrong. So without judging them. Yeah, maybe focus on exploring different viewpoints instead of forcing a change of beliefs. It's very difficult to change somebody's beliefs. But what we can do is we can throw different perspectives onto people. And that goes for management as well and for colleagues. Yeah, we can throw a different perspective. If they say they don't have time, well, try to throw another perspective. Well, you don't have time for this, but maybe you have time for a question. For management, well, you don't have time maybe to integrate it in the whole school and focus entirely on global citizenship and on integrating ESD. However, maybe we could have, you know, little panels with things that have to do with sustainability. Maybe we can have a workshop. Maybe we can have an after school club. Maybe we can have some questions coming in. Maybe we can sit down and have a look at the curriculum. Another one for the fixed and extreme mindsets is exposure to diversity. Yeah? Real world examples of people who practice sustainability. If you can, especially if you're working with teenagers, try to get hold of information from people who are teenagers, people who are hip, cool, and trendy, rappers, football players, people in the famous people who are actually, you know, these kids might look up to, or people in the community that they might look up to, and that can show them with their real example how practicing sustainability actually could be something that aligns with your personal and professional interests. So even if you might not see it now, it might be something that opens doors in the future. For example, those who are applying for university, quite a lot of universities, they want a statement, a personal statement. The personal statement is a great gateway to get students on board, because they need to incorporate things that have to do with service, that has to do with sustainability, that has to do with volunteering. So it's a good way to try and get them on board through that. And then once they're in, you can usually hook them on the reflections and on them getting more integrated. This goes for management as well. Since they're students, they want their students to go to good universities, they need to have good statements. Another way to open the door for integrating ESD into at least some of the subjects. Right. Also, the long-term personal gains, yeah? So integrating education for sustainable development doesn't only benefit society and the planet and big things like this either, but it offers personal rewards, yeah? For example, if we try to be a bit more mindful when it comes to electricity, for example, we're going to actually have economic savings. We're going to have health benefits if we, for example, choose what we eat in a better way. We might have future career opportunities. I know that when I was on the other program with CAS, for example, I had students who, after doing the CAS activities, the creativity activity and service activities, they changed their career prospects. They decided that they were going to go into something that had to do with sustainability, or maybe they were going to do medicine and then went into wanting to work in organizations that work all over the world. So sometimes you can focus on long-term personal gains for that person. Personal gains is usually a very good gateway into anyone who is resistant, because if you touch what they want, they are more prone to want to accept what you want as well. So if you play into what people want, if you play into what their reasons are, that's a good way to meander into that as well. Encourage empathy and human connection. Okay, this is one that I've struggled with here because for some reason, some of the students I have right now, they don't seem to have a lot of empathy and a lot of human connection for some reason, but they do get touched by personal stories. And if you can bring in guest speakers, or for example, within the global schools community, you can get in somebody to give a talk in your classroom, then that does really click with some of the students. You might not reach all of them, but you'll reach some of them. And also that also puts the school in a different place where you can also get management to see, oh, look, this is what they're doing in this school. This is what they're doing in this other school. Oh, look how the publicity for this school has increased once they started doing this type of thing. So sometimes you have to go in sort of with the reasons why they would want to invest time and effort into this. Okay. You can link it to justice and fairness. I don't know any student, any secondary student who isn't concerned with fairness to them. They might not be concerned with fairness and justice for anyone else, but they're definitely concerned with fairness for themselves. A lot of things are unfair in their opinion. So you can challenge this through reflective questioning, for example. You can challenge it through getting the students to reflect on, okay, well, if you think this is unfair, well, what could you do about this situation? What about this other situation? Let's compare what happens over here, where, like, for example, right now in Spain, we've had massive floods in Valencia, yeah? So, here you're sitting on dry land, you have everything, you have your possessions, but is it fair that the people over there are in this situation where the floods have just taken everything from them? Try and get them to just connect, plant seeds. That is a good to deal with it as well. Finally, we need to implement, yeah? We have to have an action plan. So what we're going to do with this action plan, which one small step can you take to integrate education for sustainable development into your teaching this week? This is something that you can ask yourself, but it's also something that you can ask your colleagues or even management, yeah? If you're talking to management, what small step can you take to integrate ESD into the school this week? Can we do anything with energy? Can we put up posters? Can we have a little, I don't know, can we view one of the documentaries? Something like that, very small. What specific action can you take? This could be simply adding an example to the next class or discussing a global issue, yeah? In the context of whatever. Let's say that you have a parent-teacher meeting, yeah? Well, you could incorporate, something that the school could benefit from as well. So for example, let's say that they're putting shade in areas in the school. So you can link this. So sometimes things are there already, but you need to link them to perhaps a sustainable development goal. Perhaps link it to, okay, this sustainable development goal is very important because of this. And it's very important because if we link it in with what we're studying in school, then it's going to be more meaningful. So it can be very simple. You can put it in. We're talking micro things here. And how are you going to track the impact? Well, who are you going to involve in this? You have to think about, your action plan. Who do you need there? Do you need anyone? Can you do it on your own? Can you just have one-to-one conversations and get people on board one by one? Can you do micro work on this? Is there any way that you find a crack where you can do some work? Key points that we need to keep in mind when we're doing this and when we're dealing with schools that are really resistant, yeah? First of all, don't despair, okay? I've had quite a few times where I think, this is impossible, I'm going up against a concrete wall here. Don't despair. There are actually ways of doing things. In my situation, what I did was I took a step back and I observed. I observed a lot of things and a lot of areas to see where the cracks were, where I could try to get a little bit in there. Think small. People don't like being overwhelmed with things. Teachers have a lot of work on their plate. Management has a lot of issues that they have to deal with as well. So think small, micro actions, yeah? Change the narrative. Don't focus on integrating perhaps education for sustainable development, big words that you can see in a lot of places. Try and change it to the skills that this will bring instead, yeah? So what skills are we bringing to our students through this? Problem solving, critical thinking, systems thinking, things that they're going to be using in the future. Don't tell people what to do. Show them. The best way is that you show others that this is possible and that you don't need to invest a lot of time and you don't need to go overboard with it. You can do it little by little, and it's actually having positive impact on your students and on the results. If you do this, if you show management what is going on, quite often they will want to be part of it, because something that's positive for students usually sells. And unfortunately, this is one way to get in a resistant school. Maybe they want to be part of things, but maybe they don't feel that they've got the time and they've got other pressing issues. Try and make them realize that through this, they can actually address more than one pressing issue. And finally, reflection over description, yeah? Questions. Let's question ourselves. We can question, but also throw questions at our colleagues and at our management, yeah? Like if they say, no, but we can't do this right now, okay? What's the reason? Why can't we do it right now? Why can we not focus on this on a very small scale? Get them to think about things and give you an answer. If they just say, no, because it's not on the agenda right now. For example, something that is very important that you can try to get it onto is the development plan. The school development plan is a great place. If you manage to get the management to integrate a little focus on global citizenship or sustainable development in the development plan, then you're good to go. Okay, so after all this waffling, I hope that we've touched on enough things to give you some food for thought, and I'm now more than happy to answer any of your questions if you will want to go into any other of the areas that we've talked about right now.
Thank you so much, Patricia. I keep seeing comments about how applicable and helpful this will be. I've personally learned a lot in the last 40 minutes. I have one question for you. So I think you did a really great idea of, or a great job of pointing out different strategies that we could use. But I'd love to hear more your personal experience. Maybe can you tell us specific challenges? And so some of the people on the call here can be like, oh yeah, I can relate to that. And specific examples of maybe how use some of these strategies and how it worked out for you. I'd love to hear, personal examples.
Absolutely. The whole thing is based on things that I've found worked for me. So when I joined the school, of course, I was burning to get ESD into and integrated into the school as well, in all ways, and getting projects done and getting it integrated into curriculum. And I was met with a quite sort of well, cool response in that. Okay, yeah, we'll have a conversation about that. Yeah, we'll have a conversation about it at some point. But so the first thing I did was, first of all, of course, I tried the usual ways, which is having conversations with management, presenting an actionable plan, trying to implement the workshops and things with colleagues. I did manage to get them to sort of give me 5 minutes in one of the department meetings to just touch on the issues. However, that's not enough really to get people on board. And in this school as well, like time is a really huge problem. So everyone is very, very focused on content teaching and going straight to the point. So they're really not interested at all to integrate anything. So what I did was I started to have a look at where things could be done, and I realized that there was an extracurricular club where we had an environmental team and a developmental team, but it was working very much focused on leadership skills at this point. So we didn't have that much of a focus on perhaps sustainable development. In fact, I found that a lot of people in the school, they didn't actually know what that was. They didn't know what the global goals were, which was really surprising for me. So I went about doing micro steps. First of all, joining the club as a link teacher. Of course, the person who was running that club at that point, I saw as an ally, because she's putting a lot of effort into this club, and she's very concerned and committed to a lot of sustainability in her personal life as well. So I managed to sort of get her as well to listen to my ideas, and she was very happy about that. So she found an ally in me as well. So together we sort of started incorporating things into this club. So that was one way in the after school club. Another way that I found was incorporating things into my own classroom, first of all, especially because in the first year we have supervisions from management and from the department heads. As a new teacher in the school, you've got like different moments when you have a supervision from senior management. So I found that to be a really good place where I could create a lesson plan where I was incorporating education for sustainable development. So this was one way that I found was very, very effective, because they were seeing it in action. And this is what I meant by, show, don't tell, because you can tell people a lot of things, but until they actually see it, it's very difficult. So, for example, one of the lessons that I was supervised in was a lesson on IGCSE preparation in Spanish, first language Spanish. So what I did was I exchanged the text. So in this case, I took a little bit more time, because I actually found texts and I made a new paper, so past paper, but I changed the questions and I changed the text. Now, obviously that was because I believe in this. I wouldn't sort of get a colleague to do that, because that would be time consuming, but at least they could see that this can be done. And keeping in mind the amount of resources there are right now on the internet and in our in the toolkits. You've got Compass Education, you've got Institute for Humane Education, you've got a lot of places where you have a lot of information, as in Global Schools program. Yeah, so all of you have a vast amount of resources to be able to incorporate things. And if not, you can also find texts online. And you can change small texts as well. You can just make small adjustments. So this is what I did. I changed things. I also incorporated questions when I had a lesson where that was focused on something completely different. My examples would always be linked to something to do with sustainability, with systems thinking, with a global goal. Yeah. So we could be dealing with I don't know, grammar. Yeah. So I would take the examples for the grammar issues, and I would make the sentences have to do with something to do with sustainable development. So that's another way of doing it. With management, what I did was once I'd already tried to incorporate things, I sat down with the head of the school and sort of basically asked uncomfortable questions, as in, well, what are the reasons for you not really being interested in incorporating this, and also giving a lot of data. Management likes statistics, yeah? So data, a lot of data, case studies, places where they've incorporated ESD and it's really improved their image outwards and things like this, yeah? So I try to really work on the vision, mission of the school, the values of the school, changing their narrative and trying to get them to realize that, well, actually, through doing this, you're doing more than one thing. You're getting a really good image for the school. You're putting the school on a world map. You're making sure that your students are aware of what's going on in the world. They become change makers. This is important. This sells. So I try to really get them to realize how this could help them achieve their benefits. Yeah, in this case, with colleagues, as I say, I have a big problem there. Because of time, but little by little, I find that by doing micro conversations with my colleagues, maybe over lunch, yeah, when we're having lunch, I'm just saying like, oh, by the way, what are you teaching right now? Oh, I'm thinking, oh, did you know that you could link this with that or whatever, or have you ever tried linking it with the global goals, or have you do you know what's going on here, or could you do this, or I try to incorporate little things that are really actionable and very, very easy to implement for my colleagues. And now I have a big project in mind, which is they've just changed the head of primary and infants. So I think I've found a little ally there as well. So I'm going to try to get the school to realize that they can actually start from below and start with the little kids and then work upwards. So maybe they don't need to implement it like in the whole school now, but what they can do is they can try and incorporate it into the infants, into the primary curriculums where it works, and I could help them integrate it there before we get on to secondary. So those are some of the ways that I've been working on.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Patricia. We have a couple of questions in the chat. Patricia, what would you do when leadership might support you, as long as you do everything without any involvement from their side, or they won't give you any kind of benefits, so economic, title, etc. So this teacher is feeling like, in this case, their light can burn out easily, and they're consistently working overtime. So what would you recommend in this situation?
Yeah, I think this is a very common situation, yeah, where you got like the leadership saying, all is well, but with the buts we had at the beginning, what I would do is go in for very small ways of doing things. So I've actually never had economic support for, incorporating education for sustainable development ever. So it is possible to do it without any resources at all. So all they need to do really is to give you maybe a meeting time at some point so that you can get to the other teachers, to your colleagues, and you can provide information to them. So all they need to do basically is maybe give you some DCM time, or maybe give you a department time. It doesn't even have to be the full time. And then micro steps, as in maybe provide people with reflective questions that they can throw in as a warmer, questions that they can use as an exit ticket, questions that you can use in assemblies. Maybe you could do a panel, something like this. Just try and use a little bit of the peripheral learning. Peripheral learning is very, very powerful, having things around and then maybe having an activity that focuses on what's around. So that could be some ways of going about this. Management doesn't they don't like giving time or resources. And quite often when you want to implement something, you need to try and work around that. So that's why it's so important to change the narrative, yeah? And try and make them realize that they're going to be benefiting from this. that it's not something that you're doing, or that only, it's another add-on. It's something that actually is going to benefit the school. Okay, the school, the mission, the vision. So playing on that is a good way of doing it. But as I said before as well, nobody likes being told what to do. So we need to be a little bit more of a coach. Yeah, we need to try and get them to realize that this is what they really need in their lives. I hope that helps.
Perfect. One other comment that we had from Maria that I think is another really great strategy is Maria posts her classroom activities and its relationship with ESD to her social media. And Maria, you have a great YouTube, I believe, as well. And so she's saying that this can make everybody, including students, colleagues, and parents, see it and feel proud. So I think that's also a great strategy. And Safe4 is also saying just posting it around the school can help as well. There are a few questions in the chat about ESD integration in different subjects. We won't address that now because it's not the space. Although I will say, Patricia did say there's so many resources out there, share them with your colleagues. And so I just want to name a few of them that Global Schools provides that are easily accessible to you, and you can share them with your colleagues. So Patricia did mention our case study guides. We have 2 editions sharing multiple stories of successful ESD actions that teachers in the Global Schools program have carried out. So feel free to use that. Share this with your school leadership. We have outlined benefits. I think one thing that's really great that's come out of our research at Global Schools is that ESD actually improves school attendance. Students are more excited to come to school and participate in lessons, and Global Schools has done research around this, and it's evident within the case study guides. We also have K through 12 lessons on our website across more than 10 languages. And they go across subjects. So I believe there's questions about history subjects. So please feel free to check out our lesson plans. We also have activity guides. There was one question about reusable energy. Yes, this is a type of ESD, and we're actually at Global Schools doing a program with Siemens Energy, and so stay tuned for case studies and more lesson plans on reusable energy consumption. So stay tuned for that. Also, Patricia mentioned something in her session about the value of doing guest speakers or things like that. So one thing that Global Schools and our kind of parent organizations, the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network is doing, it's a new initiative. It is the UN at your doorstep. And our next session for that, I believe, is on November 20. Oh, let me just double check that date. It's November 25th at 11 a.m. ET. This is where we bring in global leaders to have conversations with secondary level students. So this upcoming one on the 25th is in preparation for COP. So we're going to be talking about critical environmental questions, and we'll have, for example, the former executive director of the UN Environment Program. So having access to these kind of world leaders in our classrooms is another fantastic way to build leadership, that you can say this, my students received this lecture from this high-level UN official, can kind of help bring them on board as well. I don't see any other questions related to let's see. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Does anybody have questions? Please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. We have about 5 minutes remaining.
Can I just maybe address one thing just quickly?
Yes, please, Patricia.
When it comes to showcasing your work, that is very important, but quite often you might have situations where parents don't allow the students to be on social media and on other channels that are like outside the school's website or whatever. Like they don't want the kids to be out there. So for that, I really do recommend that maybe you could have like more of an internal sharing as well, so that you celebrate what's going on maybe with posters, maybe with like, a display or something like that. But it is important to visualize, definitely. And also, even your lesson plans, maybe if you're using Classroom or something like that, like a more like a place where you can share information, that could be quite interesting as well, because sometimes parents don't allow kids to be on the social, like being they're on social media, but they're not being posted as such. Yeah, so just other ways of celebrating.
There's two more questions, but I think I can address these. So Kim is asking, is there a place on the Global Schools website where educators can submit their lessons to share? So there's kind of two options. One is we do the Global Schools blog. So if you have an activity that you think worked really well, we encourage you to reach out to social media at globalschoolsprogram.org email address and share your lessons. Also, if you are an alumni or an advocate of the Global Schools program, we do also have a resource library that can be found in the Advocate Toolkit. And so if you have something that you'd like to add to it, we consistently update that resource as resources come in. So feel free to pass along your lesson plans and we will upload them so that other teachers can benefit. And Douglas, yes, we will be sharing the recording. We'll also be sharing the PowerPoint slides, and Patricia has mentioned that she will hopefully put together a list of relevant resources as well. So we will be circulating all of this.
I'm also happy to help anyone who wants to integrate, into their lesson plans. I did that a lot in my old school. I helped a lot of people to integrate ESD into their existing lesson plans in all kinds of subjects. I saw that somebody was asking about history, so please do reach out to us and we can help you as well.
Okay, I think we're close to time. Just one more reminder, if you are not in the Global Schools program currently as an advocate or an alumni, these are the kind of sessions that you will have access to once you join the program. So we strongly encourage you to apply. Applications do close on November 24th. Any educator in a K through 12 school can join, whether you are a teacher, whether you are a guidance counselor or school leadership. Anybody working in a K through 12 is eligible to apply. So perfect, everyone. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you so much. This was such an informative session. And again, next weekend, we will be having our ESD into arts-based subjects professional development session. So we hope to see you there. More information to come soon. All right.
Can we take a picture, Kendra?
Oh, of course. Yes. Great reminder. Wait 2 seconds. So for those of you who are new to these professional development sessions, we do like to take a group photo at the end. So I will ask everybody, if you feel comfortable, please do turn on your cameras. I'll give maybe 30 seconds for people to turn on their cameras if they feel comfortable. Perfect. 5 more seconds. Cameras. All right, let's go. Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for coming along.